Finally making a video about this Sony ZV1. My video blew up, the camera versus the pictures, and I got a lot of questions like this, so we're just gonna go rapid fire through settings and we're gonna walk through the camera and I'm gonna show you how to become an absolute pro, an absolute Instagram baddie, tell you how to achieve the photos like the G7X. Okay, so that intro says it all. Hi y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Bianca. I post lifestyle vlogs, the whole shebang. I actually haven't posted in a minute, but I did have a lot of comments and DMs about my Sony ZV1, and my video blew up on TikTok about talking about like my settings and how I achieve certain pictures with certain settings. I go through all that with y'all just over here on YouTube. So I'm gonna be referencing this video because I said a lot in this 10-minute video on TikTok, and I don't want to forget any information and not tell y'all all the information like I told everyone over on TikTok. So I apologize if this video is gonna be all over the place. Hopefully I can help y'all out and get those baddie pictures like the G7X, but for way less than the G7X. Let's go through all these settings. That way we can be Instagram baddies together. To achieve the G7X photos, of course, you're gonna need yourself a little flash. This one is from Amazon and it is linked in my Amazon storefront. I believe it's linked in my bio in my YouTube. So if you go to that, click my Amazon storefront, and then it should be under social media and tech. It's called the F1 Metalite. I believe it was $40 on Amazon, which I think is a pretty good steal for like a compact flash. And to use it, all you have to do is put it on right over here. You just slide it onto this spot. Okay, it's back on. And then to turn it on, you just press and hold. And then once it stops blinking, the flash is ready to go. You can adjust the flash by just clicking on the button, and then it goes up to like a higher intensity flash. Let me just show you. We're gonna take a picture. Hopefully you were able to see that. Okay. Now that the picture's taken, oh God, these are terrible. Oh my God. Flash is on, it's ready. Now let's just get right into settings. For all of this, you're gonna wanna shoot in manual, and I'm gonna tell you like how to shoot in manual. I'm gonna go through ISO, aperture, shutter speed. Hopefully we can become pros together. Now you're probably wondering, how do I get to manual? How do I switch my camera to manual? I'm gonna flip the screen over for you so you can watch. I'm gonna turn her on, and then there's a button up here. It's called mode. So you click the mode button, and then it's gonna bring you to all your different settings. I'm gonna scroll down. It's already in manual, so with this little dial right here, you're just gonna go through and pick your manual exposure. So we're gonna click on that, and now you're gonna be shooting in manual. So you're gonna have better manipulation and better creative freedom over how you want your photos to look. Now let's just rapid fire through shutter speed, ISO, aperture. That way we can have a better understanding of how we can use this camera and work it better for our pictures. So I have my video pulled up here, and I talked about ISO first. I have like a text on screen, so I'm just gonna read that. So hopefully you can understand it better. And then I'm just gonna kind of like sprinkle in my dumbed down version of it. ISO is a camera setting that controls how sensitive the camera's sensor is to light. It's one of the main settings that controls exposure along with aperture and shutter speed. The higher the ISO, the grainier your picture will be. The lower your ISO, there will be no grain to the image. Let me just touch base on that really quick. So say it's a bright day outside, your ISO is gonna be at your lowest setting because it's going to not let as much light in so that it won't overpower your picture, and you're not gonna be all white, like the picture's not gonna be whitewashed. It's not just gonna be so freaking bright that it's just a white screen. So to access that, to get to your ISO in the manual setting, you see all these numbers right here. To access ISO, which is right here, you're gonna hit the FN button, which is right here on the back of your camera. You're gonna hit FN, and it's gonna bring up all these settings and go up to ISO, which is in this box right here. Oh God, this is so hard. You're gonna click on it, and then it's gonna show you all the numbers. So obviously the higher you go, as you can see, the screen is getting brighter and lighter. So if I were to take a picture like this right now, I would probably want my ISO on the lowest setting, which would either be 80 or 100. So I'm gonna say 80, and now you can see that the picture is obviously gonna be a little more darker and a little more, what's the word? Not so overpowered by light, I guess, if that makes sense. Moving on to f-stop, I'm gonna read off my little screen here. F-stop on a camera refers to the aperture setting, which controls the size of the opening in the lens that allows light to enter, essentially determining how much light reaches the camera sensor and impacting the exposure and depth of field in a photograph. The lower f-stop number indicates a larger aperture. letting in more light, while a higher f-stop number means a smaller aperture, letting in less light. F-stop also refers to bokeh. I know you probably hear that a lot in photography, like settings and whatnot, but bokeh means if I were to put my hand up, my hand, as you can see, is more in focus compared to the rest of my background. So to achieve that, your f-stop, you're gonna wanna have your f-stop at like 1.8, 2.0, 2.4 to have your subject more in focus, if that makes sense. If you were to take like pictures of families, like more of a landscape, you're gonna wanna have your aperture or your f-stop. You're gonna wanna have your f-stop at a higher setting. So like, I think anything over 4 is gonna have more of like the picture in focus rather than just having a subject. If you were taking a picture of yourself, want yourself as the main focus, you're gonna wanna have your f-stop at 1.8, 2.0, 2.4. If you're taking pictures with all the girly pops or all your friends, you want to have your aperture a little higher so that more people are in focus. Does that make sense? With G7X photos, I have noticed a lot of girls take it with higher f-stops, especially when you see those beach photos or the pictures when they're out and about or like traveling. Like their f-stops are probably over 5. That way everything is in focus along with the subject. Me personally, I kind of like to have my f-stop at a lower number because I live in Indiana and like not much of Indiana is like cute, you know? So I don't really need much of my background in focus. I want the subject to be mainly focused on me. Moving on to shutter speed. Camera shutter speed refers to the length of time the camera shutter stays open, essentially controlling how long the sensor is exposed to light when taking a picture. A fast shutter speed means the shutter opens and closes quickly, capturing less light, while a slow shutter speed allows for a longer exposure time, capturing more light. Shutter speed and ISO pretty much go hand in hand with each other. I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Let's set the image. It's a sunny day. Your ISO is gonna wanna be super low, so let's say 80, 100. Your shutter speed is gonna wanna be high to compensate for the ISO. So your shutter speed is probably gonna be at about, for the Sony ZV1 purpose, let's say ISO is 100, and then your shutter speed is going to be over like 400 to compensate and like make the picture look exactly how you want it to be. I don't know if that's the best way I can describe it. I know that was a little confusing, so I'm just going to show you based off my camera. Numbers right here are going to be your shutter speed. This right here is going to be your f-stop, which also has to do a lot with your bokeh, meaning like how in focus your subject's going to be, or if you want your background to be like in focus along with your subject. Then right here is gonna be your ISO. For example, as you can see right here, I know it's kind of hard to see. As you can see, I look pretty damn dark. This would probably not be a cute photo if I didn't have my flash on. Let's go ahead and mess around with these settings. I'm just gonna keep my ISO at 80 because I don't want my photo to be grainy at all. So we're just gonna adjust the shutter speed. To adjust shutter speed, you're just gonna use this dial and you're gonna bring the shutter speed down a little bit. Bring your shutter speed down. I will say anything under 1/160th of a second, you better have a steady hand because your photo will be a little blurry from like shake. So to compensate, let's keep our image at 1/125 of a second. Let's mess around with the ISO because that is gonna bring in more light. To go back and access ISO, you're gonna go to the FN button. You're gonna click on ISO, and then you can see now that I am becoming a lot more brighter. Hopefully that made a little bit more sense to you with how to manipulate your image. Obviously the flash helps a ton. Obviously you just have to mess around a lot with your settings, and the more you do it, the better you become at it. I will say if you're gonna be using your flash during the day, you're gonna wanna underexpose your images a little bit to have your flash compensate, because obviously if you're in well-lit lighting and then you have a flash on, like it's just gonna wash you out and the image is just gonna be white and like it's not a cute image. So just mess around with the settings. And now that we've talked about the basics and the manual setting like f-stop, shutter speed, aperture, we can go into some pictures that I've taken along with their settings and how I achieve those pictures. So this picture right here was shot with an ISO of 200, f-stop at 1.8, and the shutter speed at 1/100th of a second. And I was using a flash as well because we were inside and it was in a restaurant, so the restaurant lighting was obviously dimmer and I wanted my flash to compensate for the dark lighting. Creative style of this image as well, that's another setting, so let me show you how to access that. So to get to creative style whenever you're taking pictures, this is gonna change like the mood of your image, kind of like the white balance, I guess. No, not the white balance, but it would just like, it gives you different options on how you want your picture to look. Always shoot in vivid because the colors just look so much better. Sometimes I edit my pictures, sometimes I don't. To get to creative style, back in your manual, you're gonna hit FN and then you're gonna scroll over. It's gonna be this right here, hit sunset. And this is your creative style settings. So there's quite a few. There's standard, vivid, portrait, landscape, sunset, black and white, and sepia. I always have it on vivid because the colors just pop a little bit more. Also, another setting I had on this picture was white balance. So to get to white balance, you're just back on the same screen, hit FN, and then it's going to be this little square right here. It's gonna go down to it, hit it, and then it brings you to all these different settings like auto white balance, daylight, shade, cloudy, incandescent, and then you can also mess around with like, you can do your own little thing. I typically always have my white balance set to daylight or shade or cloudy. It just depends on like what the day is like. It also can determine like how your image looks as well as the creative style. So it's a lot of playing around, and I'm so sorry if this is so much information, but once you get a hang of this, you will become a pro. So back to the image. Here's all the settings for this image, and that was how I was able to create that picture shot indoors with my flash. Next picture is this one. It was shot indoors with my flash. Those settings were, my ISO was at 125, my f-stop was at 2.8, my shutter speed was at 1/50th of a second. Picture was shot indoors with my flash and in front of a window. I did have my flash on the lowest setting just because I did have natural light to compensate as well. Creative style for this photo was set to vivid. My white balance, I believe, was at auto white balance, or it might have been indoor. I can't really remember if I'm being honest. That's how I was able to achieve that picture. This next picture is where I wanted to get a little more creative with it. I wanted to achieve like G7X photos. So here's the picture and here are the settings. My ISO was at 100, my f-stop was at 2.5, and then my shutter speed was at 1/640th of a second. Picture was also shot outside during sunset. The photo was backlit. With this picture, I wanted to make sure that my subject, which was my sister, was slightly underexposed, but I underexposed the image so I could use my flash to make sure that she was lit up and make sure that my background wasn't all whitewashed. My creative style in this photo was vivid. My white balance, I'm not really 100% sure. I can't really remember because I did edit the image because I wanted it to have like a more moodier feel to it. Next picture is also another favorite of mine. This was shot indoors, right over here actually, and there's a big window right here. She was kind of facing a little away from the window, so only like half of her face was getting light, and then like the other side was kind of in the shade, I guess. And obviously I used my flash for this to compensate for like the mix match lighting. These settings on this photo, the ISO was at 100, f-stop was at 2.8, and the shutter speed was at 1/250th of a second. Creative style for this photo was vivid. The white balance was set to indoor, I believe, or it might have been at auto white balance. I can't really remember. This is also another edited image, but I'll put both images if I still have them up here, that way you can see, because I did edit the pictures to make colors pop just a smidge more. That is it for this hopefully not super long video. Hopefully I didn't confuse y'all too much. Obviously you can just reference this video, or if you have any questions, obviously just reach out and hopefully I can help you. I do have all my camera accessories, my camera, my flash, all linked to my Amazon storefront. You can get to that by going to my bio, clicking on my Amazon storefront, and then going to social media and tech, I believe. So yeah, hopefully we can get those baddie pictures together. Hopefully this video helped. I want to post more to YouTube, so hopefully we can do this again sometime soon, sooner rather than later. If y'all like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, do all the fun things. Also, don't forget to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I do post there more on a daily basis, slash like 4 times a week. You can follow me along on there if I'm not posting on YouTube as much as you would like me to. So I will see y'all in my next video.